Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be my top 10 players right now in Rocket League Competitive 3v3. A lot of people were asking for this when I made my top 10 players of all time, and I did hint that there might be a different looking list if it wasn't the all-time list and just the current, and I can confirm it is a very different looking list. So let me just very quickly break down what the criteria are that I've been looking at to try and come up with my own top 10. Firstly, it has to be RLCS players, which is of course expected. Tournament results play a big factor, as they always do when I'm making one of these lists. Mainly DreamHack Leipzig, E-League and RLCS Season 4 LAN. They're the main tournaments I'm looking at. And when it comes to an individual player basis, I want to look at carry ability, irreplaceability and team play. They're the three categories that I really look at to differentiate between players and see who I think is better. But yeah, let me just get into my top 10 and I'll explain it as I go, and then, you know, once we're done, I'll close out with some thoughts. I definitely want to know what your guys' top 10s are in the comments down below once we're all finished here. So number 10 is going to be Lethamyr from Ghost, and he's not here based on tournament results. He's pretty much just based on his own individual ability that I've decided to make him a top 10 player. He's always been the best player on every team he's been on, and even recently he's just been outstanding on Ghost, pretty much making them a top tier team in North America single-handedly, and that's, in my opinion, going to continue into Season 5, and that's why I have to put him in here at top 10, even though his most recent tournament finishes were 5th at RLCS, 7th at E-League and 9th at DreamHack Leipzig. Not phenomenal, but I think that this guy is just a great player, definitely deserving of a top 10 spot going into Season 5 of RLCS. Number 9 is Complexity's Magnus. That's formerly known as Method, now Complexity. Magnus, the standout player in that team in my opinion, although it's a great team all around. Second place finisher at RLCS Season 4, and since then not having as good results at E-League and DreamHack Leipzig, but still I think a fantastic player. Points per game machine, one of the fastest players in the world, and definitely pips Lethamyr into the 10th spot just because of that second place finish at RLCS alone. And he's just, I think this is probably going to be my most controversial pick, but Magnus just gets beaten to number 8 by a player that's recently made a comeback into my top 10. He's been out of it for a while, but I think based on his recent performance at DreamHack Leipzig, I just have to put Flipside's Cuxer back in here. And I know I can already hear all of you saying, hey, Johnny's just a Flipside fanboy, Cuxer fanboy, he's just, you know, desperate to put Cux in every top 10, overrates him. But whatever, listen, if you guys watched DreamHack Leipzig, I'm sure you would much more easily agree with this placement, because playing with a rookie and a substitute in that tournament, Cuxer reminded everybody that he's absolutely still world class, and he's one of the most clutch players in the world. When it matters most, he steps up, and that's of course in tournaments. I don't want to take anything away from Jesse and Yukio. That is of course the substitute and the rookie that I mentioned that Cux played with. They played great as well, but there's no doubt that Cuxer was the standout player there, and that's why I think he deserves to be in my top 10 again, even ahead of Magnus, because he eliminated Magnus from that same tournament before Cux then went on to fall to the eventual winners in a reverse sweep scenario. So great tournament all around for, in my opinion, the best player in Rocket League history. Another player who I've always considered very highly, and I've always put him high up my list, is GarrettG, and I've got him at number 7 currently. So a bit lower than he was previously. That's mainly due to the big road bump that he had at RLCS Season 4 with a 9th place finish, not winning any series there. But a kind of resurgence as himself and NRG went to finish 3rd at DreamHack Leipzig. They won't be happy that they dropped that series in the semi-final to G2, but it's promising leading into the new season. Of course, that was with substitute player Torment playing, and of course if you want to get a substitute, Torment pretty high up the list of players you're going to choose, but even that wasn't enough to take down G2, who have been on great form recently, and Garrett's going to have to settle for 7th place right now in my top 10 players in the world at the moment. Just another quick reminder, this is competitive 3v3 only, no other game modes matter, so that's the only thing I'm considering here. I'm going to have a tie now for 5th and 6th place, and it's just because I really could not separate these guys. I always struggle to separate them ever since they've been teamed together, and it is of course Kaydop and Turbopulsa. That's going to be my 5th, 6th tie. They of course would have been much higher if they'd not come 5th at DreamHack Leipzig. They're sliding down a little bit, but they started off the year so high that it doesn't, they can have another couple of mediocre tournament finishes and still probably be in the discussion for top 10. Kaydop, obviously, in my opinion, the most successful player in competitive Rocket League for 2017 as a whole, and TurboPasta, the 2-time RLCS champion. So they don't really need any more of an explanation than that. I've still got them comfortably inside the top 10, right in the middle there, and it's impossible, in my opinion, to separate them. I couldn't decide which one to put ahead of the other, looking towards RLCS Season 5. And on to number 4, and I've got another EU superstar. This one definitely on the rise. It's PSG's Bluey, and I've decided to put him this high mainly based on their recent win at DreamHack Leipzig, where they were able to fight back from behind, something that him and his team have really struggled to do in the past, but it was great to see them finally finding success and getting that tournament win that's evaded them for a while. Bluey, the player that I think stands out most in his team PSG, just because of his incredible mechanical ability, but more recently he's been actually playing as a much better team player as well, so I've got to give him a lot of credit for that. It's not easy for some of these young guys to stay level-headed under the immense pressure that they're put under. And that's sometimes in the past led to Bluey ball chasing a little bit and being a bit greedy, but that's not really something I saw at all in DreamHack Leipzig. I was very impressed. That's why I've got him all the way up at number 4, ahead of many of his current peers and rivals. So that's definitely one of the players to watch going into this season. Now the pick that's probably going to upset the most people, I've got Squishy at number 3, and listen, before you crucify me, I just can't put him any higher than this, because he didn't play at DreamHack Leipzig, and before that he had 2 third place finishes at E-League and RLCS. Of course, the first place at Gnarly is a distant memory now, at least for me, so I've got Squishy at number 3. The 2 players I've got above him are just doing more for their teams than Squishy does for his. Some people might say that Squishy doesn't need to do as much for his team as the 2 players that I've got above him, because his team is better than the teams that I've got, or the players teams that I've got above Squishy in this list. And to be honest, I could agree, at least with with one of the teams, definitely. With the other, it's in a head-to-head, yes. But on recent results, maybe it's pretty close. But yeah, I don't want to spoil it too much. I'm sure a lot of you will be able to guess what my top 2 are going to be. But I'll save the order for a moment just to go over a couple of honourable mentions. And in short, the honourable mentions for me are just the rest of Cloud9, so Gimmick and Torment, and the rest of PSG. That's Josette and Farah. That's the honourable mentions, really. Because those guys, you can make a case for them being in the top 10, even high up, even as high up as maybe at 4th at the highest. I mean, maybe that high, because it really is that close. I decided to mix it up a little bit and give a variety of teams a featured spot here. But you could make an argument for anyone else in Cloud, or any of the other Cloud9 players, or any other PSG players to be on here. And I wouldn't call you stupid, whatever. That definitely would happen. The only other player that I'm going to put in the honorable mention section is Justin, and that's because the only reason I can't put him on my list, because he's got no LAN experience, at least not that I know of, and he's unproven at the highest level. He's been dominating online, and he's been dominating RLRS last season, but is he going to blend into NRG and start to succeed? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it works in scrims, sometimes it works in practice, and it doesn't work in the competitive setting. So we'll have to wait and see with Justin, but for now he's definitely an honourable mention, definitely a player to watch nonetheless. Okay, so on to the top 2, and I promise I didn't do this to try and prove that I'm not EU biased or anything. This is genuinely, I think, second place at the moment goes to Fairy Peak from Vitality, formerly Mocket. He just doesn't have the tournament results that my number 1 has, and you already know number 1 is going to be Jknaps. Jknaps and Fairy Peak I'm going to talk about them together because in many ways they're quite similar. They're both incredible carries for their team, and they're both, world-class players. I think that when it comes to recent tournament results, Jknaps is just the best because he's the best player. on the team that's performing the best, the team that came first at E-League and second at DreamHack Leipzig and fourth at RLCS is absolutely acceptable as well. So they're the hot team coming in, and Jknaps is the star, so he has to be number 1. And then you got Fairy Peak, I think the best player in Europe, I think the best player who has yet to win a major. And if this list was just a best Rocket League player list at the moment, Fairy Peak would be number 1. But it isn't. It's a bit more specific than that. It's the best Rocket League competitive 3v3 player at the moment, and that's why I've got Jknaps ahead in the first spot. So let me just go through my list one more time in case anybody wants to hear it all in order. So I've got number 10, Lethamyr, number 9, Magnus, number 8, Cuxer, number 7, Garrett, number 6 and 5 equal is Turbo and Kaydop of Gale Force Esports. Number 4 is Bluey, number 3 Squishy, second Fairy Peak, and first Jknaps. So that's my list. Definitely let me know in the comments what you think of my list, and also let me know what your list is. I'm very curious to see who you guys have got in your top 10s, as we're on the verge of getting into season 5. It's time to stop international competition for a bit and focus on NA versus NA, EU versus EU. So I thought this was the perfect time to do this, just because the next time we do this will probably be after more international lands way down the line. So that's what my list is right now. I'll be back tomorrow with another Rocket League video, so hopefully I'll see you then. But if not, hopefully I'll see you again. I appreciate you guys watching. As always, have a good day, and I'll see you later.